Hi there, this is Rishabh, and I'm back with yet another episode of Behind the Codes. And the person whom we are going to talk with today is a passionate technologist, and he brings with him a lot of experience, a lot of tech wisdom. So, without wasting any further time, let's get started. Hi, Rajat. Welcome again to Behind the Codes.
Hi.
And our special guest, Ashwani, is with us today. So, hi, Ashwani. How are you?
I'm good, Rishabh. How are you?
All good, Ashwani. Thank you so much for being here. And so, how has been the Sunday so far?
Sunday has been usual, apart from bit of some differences. So, as usual, it starts with morning walk, just morning walk. Although sometimes I miss it a few days, but fortunately, it was done today. And then I had my breakfast, and I had couple of interviews scheduled for me today from the company, since we do not get some time during the weekdays. So HR take the opportunity to schedule it for weekend. So I drilled some candidates on the tech things, and one is rejected all the yeah. So that's pretty much it. Just before this call, I had a good nap to get recharged. Yeah,
That's
that's it so far.
cool. Okay, great, Ashwani. Seems like you are having an amazing Sunday. So let me just briefly walk you through the format. The idea here is that before COVID, uh, colleagues used to go for tech walks. They used to have
Mhm.
conversations around the water cooler, and the chai tapri conversations used to happen. But when
Mhm.
COVID started, it all stopped. So we thought of bringing up a digital version of that. So consider this conversation as the digital tech walk kind of a thing, where we are going to talk technology, of course, and well, other things also. So it's going to be mostly an informal chat, and even though we don't intend to be specific on what we talk about, but
Mhm.
like it almost derives from the way conversation flows.
Okay,
So
sounds good.
so we really hope you're going to enjoy this conversation with us today. The very first thing which we always start with is that how exactly you ended up becoming a technologist. And so this is going to remain the same for you. So what's your journey?
So my journey, I think, started through my schooling itself. I mean, I was very fascinated while looking at computers and how they are making our life easier. So first, I am able to remember is so first instance was that I saw a printout coming out of a printer with just a command. So that was something miraculous at that point of age for me. So I was wanted to learn computers. I was not sure that I'll be ending up into a professional in this field, but yeah, it started there. So eventually, some of the astrologers also added up to this in my parents' knowledge that he'll be someday a computer professional or so. But yeah, so then my schooling started again. In my schooling, the computers was lesser, but yeah, the fascinating things were always there. I was very, I would say, separated from the computer environment. I didn't have my personal computer at that time. So I always wanted to be near some computer. I wanted to have an opportunity to go to the computer cafes. So that was the point I was able to use the computers. And after 12th, so I chose for the computers. And when I chose for the computers, I was not sure that I'll be going into networking or I'll be going into programming. But with the flow, I found out. I mean, this is something I would say a joke that in the start I thought that I won't be a programmer because we were taught to write C++ program, and I ended up writing include iostream.h and include stdio.h, and that's it. I was not that. I was not very sure that what to write next. So my teachers and my mentors also said that you need to do hard work to reach that point. But I also had a networking training in my 6 weeks of training, and I was very sure that I'll not be a programmer. But eventually, when 6 months training came up, I started to look at PHP for the first time. And there was so this was the first project that I did, and it poured in a lot of confidence inside of me that I could be a programmer. So it was a tech fest that happened in our college, and I was tasked to create a website for that particular tech fest. And during that, it was a very interesting thing to do because there were a lot of people, a lot of fresh minds around you to giving you ideas. Were able to. So yeah, that's that. I mean, at that point of time, I was very sure that whatever happens, I'll be going to be into this field only. So yeah, that's how it started.
That's really a wonderful journey, isn't it, Rajat?
Yes,
I mean, a
yes,
long and very exciting journey.
Yeah.
So
yep.
Ashwini, was there a point like, so for example, I always talk about this incident which happened with me. Like, I used to love this game, cricket, from EA Sports, and it really
Mhm.
inspired me to write code. So were there any such inspirations in your case also?
You're talking about some gamings or the things which inspired me.
Not exactly gaming, but anything which was related to programming or coding, I mean, in general.
In general, I was interested in embedded systems because when I saw the electric gadgets around me, I mean, at that time, IoT was not into advent. So at that time, I saw that the click of a button is doing a lot of things. So that is something I wanted to do because as I started with the printer itself. So what that was the one thing, and secondly, Facebook. It was something in everyone's life at that time. I mean, we were posting pictures. It was quite new at that time as compared to today. So that's something which triggered to. I mean, why people are so glued to their screens while using Facebook. So I wanted to explore that field.
I think this was one of the famous query of our times, that how to create a website like Facebook. Uh, at least people who used to surround me, they were less interested in knowing what exactly Facebook does. So they were more interested in knowing how exactly to build a site like Facebook. Great.
Okay,
So Rajat, any points from your side? Like,
Well, I remember this very like at my time, like when we came across Facebook, we used to think about that SQL injection and like just to how to bypass the like username password thing. So
SQL
during
injection.
our college days, we were very much into that,
Okay.
and at that time, SQL injections were very famous. So we were never able to do that, but yeah, we have seen a lot of videos where they were showing that yeah, we can do it by that and all.
They're still very famous, the SQL injections.
Yep, I guess during my college days, our aim was not to be a computer science engineer. It was to like just bypass the Facebook security.
Okay. Nice. Interesting. I mean, now that Ashwini, you have had a wonderful career of years, I would say. What do you think are the qualities which have helped you a lot, uh, like to become successful with software or as a technologist?
so on that note, I would say keep learning the new things sort of helped me because as you know, our profession is something. If you're learning something today, that there are very good chances that it will be deprecated by 3 months. Yeah. So there were the things. I mean, where whatever new comes into the market, I'm very desperate to learn. I mean, it must have hands-on on the same. I mean, my mentors or some colleagues of mine also have discouraged me on this part because they told me that when are you going to stop, man? You're always into something new, and this is not something that you should be doing. But I was very adamant on this. I kept learning. I mean, my today as well, my Saturday Sunday is going to some learning things only, and that is helping me a lot into this because I shifted from PHP to properly into JavaScript. So only that thing helped me because it is not a Taj Mahal was not built into one night, right? So there was the knowledge that I gathered from my out of the flow learning, which I'm not doing, but I was learning. I was not doing it. I was learning, but that thing, I mean, fueled me up to reach this point of my career so far.
That's very nice. Like I saw that there was a transition from PHP to purely JavaScript.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
are you also writing some JavaScript on the back end, or is it like mostly the front end side of the game?
I'm writing, since I'm a full stack developer, so I got chances to write backend code as well into Node.js. But when it comes to microservice architecture, I sort of avoid writing Node.js microservices for some reasons. Yeah, so it has been both. I'm writing HTML, CSS, React, and backend Node.js as well.
Interesting. So, Ashwini, was there a point, was there a point when you decided that now I really want to transition from PHP to purely JS? Like, was this because of, let's say, a job, or was it a personal interest? How exactly this transition happened?
This transition happened primarily it was a job perspective because I have seen that I have been working in Tri-City, right, in Chandigarh and Mohali region. And while doing PHP, I was not getting that much of salary, right? So that something triggered in my mind, that in my heart as well, that I'm doing something which is not giving me what I deserve. So I was taking enterprise level projects. I was being a Scrum Master at the experience of 3 to 4 years. So that's something. That was something eating me inside, that I should transition to something which could earn me better, which could expose me to the better companies. Because we have to admit that there is a fact that if you're working on PHP, then good companies, or that's a different topic, that what are the good companies. But yeah, the very good companies that are competitive companies won't be hiring you, because apparently they are not working on PHP tech stack as of now, right? So that is something which triggered me, which may raise a want in me to change my tech stack from PHP to JavaScript. And eventually, I'm learning cloud computing these days.
That's
Oh,
very
nice.
interesting, and I'm very happy that I have basically two mean stack developers sitting with me today. So, and Rajat, for you, I think Node.js was the first choice only, isn't it?
Yes, actually, like before Node, I've only worked with Python a little bit, but other than that, it's primarily Node only. So I'm majorly a backend dev, so I've majorly worked with Node and microservices with Node, Lambdas, AWS Lambdas, and all. So my primary focus was that only, and after that, I moved to front end also a little bit, but I majorly prefer backend. Like I'm a backend sort of a guy.
Yep. I mean, like if I talk about myself, so I am also somebody who has had some interactions with Node in the beginning of my
Yeah.
career. Like even during my internship itself, I remember that there were certain projects which I did, and Node.js at that time was something which was very very new. Like it was like for the first time that I got to know that JavaScript can be written on backend also. So on this, I would like to share an incident with both of you. When I was in
Mhm.
college, like I used to visit my library a lot. So once I had the option to choose a book on JavaScript versus embedded systems, and I end up choosing the book on embedded systems, thinking that JavaScript is like writing small scripts. I can manage that, but let's learn about embedded systems. And I think about a year later, when I get into my internship and start learning about Node Express in sales, then only I realized that I was wrong during that library incident, because JavaScript was actually very big, maybe bigger than my imagination at that time. It was on front end, it was on back end, it was in Internet of Things, like it was going everywhere. So these days with the TensorFlow.js, it's like getting into machine learning also. So I mean, JavaScript is
Yeah.
becoming really big.
Yep.
Great. So, Ashwini, I have seen you taking interviews. Well, I have been, I would say, lucky enough to learn a lot of things from you when it comes to taking interviews. So, what do you think are some of the qualities which you always look for in the candidates when you are doing the hiring?
So while I'm hiring someone, the first thing I look for is a good teammate. I mean, keeping the technology aside. So if someone is a good teammate, he's able to learn or able to teach someone, because we all are into learning when we are into tech professions. So that's what I believe. So when I'm hiring someone, I first of all check for the basic skills, basic interaction skills. He should be a good teammate. I believe that if someone is a good teammate or has a urge to learn, we can teach him or her anything. So that's something I believe.
Okay.
So apart from this, when it comes to technical stack, I'm looking for basic skills again. So if your foundation is strong, then you can write anything. I mean, I myself was into Angular first. I was writing code into Angular. Eventually, it sourced from you only, from your sessions, in one of the company where we were working together. So when I transitioned from Angular to React, it was not very difficult for me. I would say that was only because I was into good foundation of JavaScript. So once I would say if someone is good at the foundational skills, I won't go very deep into, because I myself is very bad at algorithms and data structures. I'm learning those things right now. Also, I believe that these things are more applicable when you're writing backend code. But again, coming to the similar point, if you are good at the foundation, if you have urge to learn, if you are not resistive to the change with whatever coming. So I've been into the situations where I'm writing JavaScript code and my manager has told me that there is an assignment in WordPress and you need to switch it within 1 hour from your JavaScript to WordPress. So that skill should also be there. I mean, if you are into React, then you should not be resistive. You should not be like, I can do only React and I cannot move away from React. So those are some of the qualities which I look for into the candidate.
That's very good.
The last thing I would mention is communication. So that depends upon the level of experience I'm interviewing. But yeah, communication is very important, and it personally has helped me a lot
Yeah.
during my career.
So, like, even if you want to be a good teammate, I think being able to understand, being able to be empathetic, and
Yeah.
being able to express yourself, yes, these are some of
Mhm.
very important things. So, if I have to summarize, like what you talked about, well, he
Mhm.
needs to be a team player, he needs to have some basic tech skills, and
Yeah.
he or she, I should say, should have
Mhm.
the last thing which you mentioned was
Last
Communication.
thing mentioned, communication.
communication should be there. So yeah, so these are the three things which Ashwani looks for when he is doing the hiring. Thanks a lot.
And he or she should be adaptive as well. That's also
Adaptable.
one thing.
Yep.
That's nice. Adaptable. The person should be adaptable. Okay. So
Yeah.
these are four skills. Very nice. Okay. So Ashwani, like as I already mentioned, that now you have been into this career for quite some years.
Yeah.
How do you see software development as a career?
So I see lot of miracle in this field. I mean, it is something which I mean, I heard or wrote somewhere, no, I read somewhere. So I read somewhere a quote that everyone, irrespective of the field or profession, should try programming once. I mean, it is something when you are writing a program or when you are constructing a layout for your project, when you are architecturing something. So this all comes into pretty much every field with some deviations, but particularly talking about this programming world, when you are projecting something, when you are designing a database, especially, then you need to think of a lot of things which are going to happen in the future, right? I mean, you have to be informed. So that's where the level of experience also plays a role. So only if you have been an experienced person, then you will be able to think that what could happen, what scenarios could come. So this is a very good field, and this lockdown or COVID situation has also uh, gave it a lot of shine, I would say, because talking on a parents' mentality, they were not aware that what I am doing. For last 6 years, I have been doing the things. So if some friend of my father is asking him what Ashwani is doing in his career or what profession he is into, so he was clueless. He was not able to answer him or her that what he is doing. But now, when I'm working, I think it's been 1 year or so that all are working from home. So they know that what's happening. I mean, they are not very technical, but they know that they are shaping something which is going to be used by a lot of people. So yeah, being a profession, it also has raised it from financial basis, I would say. So if someone is, it gives you a freedom to work from home. It gives you freedom to work from anywhere. You can. This COVID situation has taught our industry that someone can work from home while being around their family or beloveds.
So, Ashwini, to add to that point, I think
Mhm.
in terms of the transformation or in terms of the mindset change which has happened, I would say that not only our parents, but in some cases, a
Mhm.
lot of companies have also transformed and also changed their mindset, because there used to be companies who used to be like running away from this work from home thing. But even those
Yes.
Yeah.
companies now, they actually started giving work from home to their colleagues. They have, I'm sure they used to trust their colleagues before also, but now they got the chance to express that in a very tangible way.
Yeah,
Yes.
so when this COVID started, didn't have any alternative. And I have seen that my leadership as well, they were very scared of keeping the developers away from them, away from the hold of their tech leads, that how the things are going to happen. But eventually, I would congratulate all of our team members and tech people that they were able to prove that it is worth working from home. It also has helped professionally and financially to companies as well, I would say. So they can ping you at 11 p.m. as well.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's happened with, I think, all of us at least once.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, Shuni. So I have a question for you. So
Mhm.
when you join a company, what do you look into that?
Okay, so it is a very vast topic to discuss, I would say.
Yeah, no worries.
But for me, I would like to summarize it. So, first of all, I just Google for the revenue of that particular company. Right?
Okay.
So that tells you that what size or what business that company is doing, how old that company is, and most of, important, that what's the strength of that company is.
Okay.
And it should be compared to the years of that company. I mean, the age of that company compared to the strength of that company. And thirdly, I would say I just scroll through the profiles and the people already working into that company. I
Mm-hmm.
try to interact with them. I just look at the very shining profiles. We cannot look into every profile. So I just
Mm-hmm.
try to pick some profiles and I go through their experiences from what companies they have shifted to that particular company, and
Okay.
what and if I got a chance, I just send them a request and try to interact them if they prefer to. So while interacting with them, I come to know about the culture of the company, because it
Okay.
also adds up to that, what how are you going to work. Because I have worked in a couple of companies where, I mean, that was start of my companies. Although it added to my experience and knowledge, but the company culture was that in my sleep, in my dreams, I was writing code. So that's something I do not want again to happen, right? So I
Yeah.
am handling 4 projects on my own. I am handling 4 juniors. I am handling their client communications. And if some new project comes in, I am supposed to create a POC for that. So I'm very cautious, I would say, to know about the company culture.
Okay. Well,
Mm.
That's
I can
that's
actually
a,
completely relate with that. What are you saying, Rishabh?
that's a very honest answer. I was saying, Rajat.
Yes.
Yeah, so you were sharing some experience.
Okay, so even I worked for such a company where I was like, I was handling multiple projects, and like I was not even aware of what I have to do when I reach the office in the morning, because whoever client is angry that day, I have to work on that project that day. Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it was like that. So yeah, so that kind of experience I can completely relate to.
And in that case, your managers also grill you that why that particular client is mad
Yes.
at you today.
In my case, like I was not the lead, so my lead was like actually communicating with the clients. I was just
Okay.
doing what they were asking me to do. So they used to reply and they used to calm the client down, and then they were like, "Hey, today we have to deliver this to them." And on the next day some other client is angry, so we have to deliver their task then. So like it was like they were lacking developers, and they were just whichever client is about to run away, they were just delivering him something. That is what they were doing.
I also remember of one thing. I mean, listening to you again. So there were chances while working on such projects. There were juniors in the company, and when they are not able to complete something, or they are not able to deliver something within the stipulated time, then you are the one who is going to do that. I mean,
Yes.
it doesn't mean for the company if you are spoiling your night, or you are um,
Yes.
contra- you know leaving your primary deliverables, it has to be done in the stipulated time. So that's also
Yes.
something very.
Yep, actually, I would like to add here, like there was this one company I worked for, and in that company I was working from morning 9 to next morning 5 for one whole
Yeah.
week. Like it was happening, and I was traveling for that company was away like 90 minutes from my home, so I was traveling on bike, and it was like so dangerous that you're like riding your bike in full sleep, and like so that kind of things also happened. Like my boss, like not even my manager, my boss was like right standing right on my head, and he was like, "Hey, we have to deliver it anyhow, we have to deliver it tonight." And then next day same thing happened for one whole week, and I was like, dude, I
Yeah.
can't work like this.
I think if I let you speak on this topic, I'm sure that we can actually complete the episode in this. So,
Uh,
so let me interrupt here and change the question completely. But yeah, the question which I'm going to ask next is quite related to this. So in the media or in the market, we have seen that there is a lot of criticism when it comes to the code
mhm,
written by Indian developers in general. What do
mhm,
you think your thoughts on this specific thing? I'm assuming that, okay, let's assume this is the reality.
mhm.
What do you think can be done to actually, get out of this problem to make the code written by Indian developers slightly better or more better?
Yeah, so I'll agree with you, Rishabh, that it is. I have also find because I have also been into some meetups, so where 80% of audience is from foreign, so they generally discuss. So maybe they don't realize that Indian guys are also there in the call, but they have been talking or discussing that why Indians code is that not that much competitive or up to the mark. So while reviewing the code of my teammates, or I would say juniors with whom I was able to work. So I've also found these things. So first I would like to mention that what I look for in the good coding style. So there are the terms called design patterns, right? We all are aware of it. So
Yes.
generally developers are away from it. I also have been away from these things for, I would say, 4 years or so in my experience. But I had conceptual knowledge, but I didn't have any practical knowledge. So when the code review started, so I have to be equipped with this knowledge. So I learned it, I mean, to the extent that was required. So looking at it, they are not following the design patterns, and I am very particular about the. I mean, this could be funny to you. So I'm very particular about the variable names they are taking. So if someone is taking O1, foo1, foo0, so these are not something I'm looking for. So I just write a blunt comment on the PR that you need to fix this,
Yep.
even if you don't like it, right? So I look for documentation. It is something necessary, which most of the, I would say, in the PRs, I have missed that 90% of the time they are not writing documentation. So documentation is important for the peers that are coming on your project in the future, right? So they should be able to relate that what's happening here. Because looking at the code, it's difficult to realize that what's happening while dry running the code in your mind, as compared to reading the English that's written above it. And then it
Yep.
comes to the separation of concern, I would say. So in Node.js, it is very easy to write the code in the one file. I have seen the applications where people write their whole code into single file that's called server.js, and that I think comes from the online tutorials, because online tutorials are just to give you an idea of the technology. So they eventually write into server.js only. But people are taking it as the single point of writing the code. So depending upon what your code is doing, it should be situated into some file which is separately written for it. So as you asked that how can we improve it, you also can add it to it. So we can improve it by learning. That's my experience, that by learning, by seeing a lot of developers code which is available on GitHub, finding out the ways to write code. I would say, I would like to add, there is a thing called Solid. So this Solid has helped me a lot. I mean, to the developers or the peers for which I have found bad code, I have instructed, or you can say suggested them to read Solid and implement them. And I have seen results coming out in their PRs. So when once you are aware of solid principles and you are implementing it, because it is something different. Learning them is a different thing, and implementing them is a different thing. Some people just stick to learning them only. So solid helps a lot, I would say, in every aspect, 360 degree.
Nice. Okay, Ashwini.
And
So, yeah, Rajat, please go ahead. You're saying something.
okay, so I was just adding on top of what Ashwani said. I completely agree with what all Ashwani said. I have two more points to add. So one is like when developers need to write test cases like TDD. So we need to do test-driven development. That can help a lot in like
Yeah, yeah.
increasing our coding standards. And the second thing is that I guess like it is like okay, so there are two type of developers. One who doesn't know how to write good code. The second one who know how to write good code, but because of some things they were not able to do so. So I guess
Right.
if we involve developers in the Scrum planning meetings, I guess it can be a controversial opinion, but yeah, if we involve developers in the Scrum planning meeting, I guess a little code quality can be increased. Because sometimes, like I've experienced it in my past, so I've been doing TDD for a while now, but like sometimes you don't have the time. So
Yeah.
the leads want it in a certain interval of time where they were like, okay, like TDD is not a priority. It's like it's not a must have. It's like good to have, which is like which thinking needs to be changed. Like it should be a must have, the TDD thing, and like other good coding practices we need to we need to include them for sure. So
Mhm.
that can also help in like increasing the code quality.
So, yeah, these are very interesting points. So, I think there is one more point which I can add here. That is, well, obviously, which I have learned from experience, that if you start designing things like, let's say, sequence diagrams or maybe some simple flowcharts just for your own help, so they are not for like maybe showing to somebody else, but just
Mhm.
for your own help, then I think it really helps to basically get the whole picture in your mind. And most of the mistakes in softwares, they sometimes happen just because of the lack of understanding of what exactly is expected.
Yep.
Because I think most of the things which happens on account of syntax, you guys have already covered. So I think if design can be added, I mean, if we can invest somewhere around, let's say, 20 to 25% of the total time in designing, that can be a really good help in this direction.
Mhm. Totally agree.
Yes.
Great. So again, the next question is also connected to this, Ashwini, and that is
Mhm.
like, what do you think? Let's say if you have to make some suggestions or give some advices to those who are just beginning in this career of software development, what do you think are some of the good ways to a good career in software development?
So today we have a lot of things, I would say, as compared to when I was into the college. I have had very less resources. So first of all, you should be exposed to the things which are rightly working in the working in the area where you want to apply for the job. So for instance, I again quote Tri-City. So most of the people in Punjab are looking for jobs in IT in Chandigarh. So they should definitely look for PHP as an option in their career. So if someone is looking for Java jobs, so he should not very much concentrate on Java. So you should be selective and you should know that what to go for, right? This is the first thing. And second thing, he should be learning. He should be the tools I would recommend, which has helped me a lot, are Udemy. Then it comes YouTube is the biggest source. So YouTube, I would say, has grown so much during the COVID times and after the advent of Geo, right? So YouTube has come into everyone's hand, so they can devote their time. There are also premium courses. I generally do stay away from the premium sources most of the times, because we have all the content available free of cost. And the last thing that I would recommend is writing code by themselves instead of devoting most of the time into learning something. You should also devote your time into writing the code, because if you learn, I have also seen this in my experience, that I learned something, and when it's the time to write something around it, I was totally dumb. So when you are learning something, just give a very less fraction of time between learning it and writing it on your PC or whatever platform you're using. Yeah, so that's those are the things, and you should be in touch with the peers around you into technical discussion, some sort of the one we are having right now. So these discussions, having attending the meetups around you, so these things helps a lot for the newbies coming into this profession.
Great, very nice. On top of that, I would like to add that I have a slightly different opinion on when it comes to looking for the resources, given the fact that I end up investing a lot of money on the premier resources also. So there is a reason that I am in favor of that. But yeah, I think sometimes it does help, given the fact that when somebody is selling something, even if that somebody is me, that person is always taking a slightly extra care of adding some more features versus the free part of it, the free side of it. Great.
Yeah, that's right. So if we are starting something, we are very so if I'm talking about React is coming into the market and I want to learn it, so I should not right away go for premium courses. So that's
Yes.
what I just meant. So you should start developing your interest into it. So if it sounds good to you, or you are liking it, you are comfortable writing code into it, then yeah, then probably you should go for premium resources. That's right.
Great.
Yes, and also I would like to add here that like documentation is always like the single source of truth for you.
That's true. That's true all the times, I would say.
Yes.
Okay, nice. So I think we got some really wonderful insights. Now let's look at the real behind the Ashwani kind of a thing. So Ashwani, what are your hobbies? Like apart from, we know that you are a brilliant technologist, so it's kind of obvious to assume that most of your time is invested in technology. But other than technology, what exactly are your other hobbies?
So when I'm not coding, I am reading books. Right, I like fiction more, but I also like self-improvement books. So right now, also, I'm reading APJ Abdul Kalam's biography. So that's something that I do. And apart from it, when I'm not coding, I'm learning, taking opportunity of COVID and being at home. I'm learning having an opportunity to learn cooking from my mother.
That's
Right,
nice.
and what else? So yeah, I mean, most of my times is going into the tech itself. So that's something, and I have recently developed a new interest to learn the stock markets.
Oh,
So
Nice.
my time is going into that as well today.
very nice. So
Mhm.
Ashwani, would you like to share a story from one of your favorite books with our audience?
Yeah, so I don't remember the name of the book.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was a very nice story which was mentioned. It was a recent book. Yeah, I'm just pity on myself that why how I forgot the name of the book. So the story was on consistency. So that really triggered me in something. I mean, when I read the story, it was a very small story. When I read the story, I just closed the book and I was into my thoughts for quite a while. Right. So that story was on consistency. So there was someone who aspired to be into law firm. Right. He wanted to be a lawyer, but he was at the age of 60 already. So at the age of 60, he didn't look at his age. He didn't look at his intellectual power or whatever was the obstacles. I mean, if you want to make excuses, there are a lot you can see around yourself. But once you are adamant about reaching somewhere, then you just ignore those excuses. So what he did, he started to learn. He joined the college at the age of 60, and for 2 to 3 years, he had his education. And then some exam comes. I think he belonged to USA or some country other than India. So there was a law that there was a policy that after your graduation, you have to appear for a test. You can talk about UPSC sort of thing. So it was related to their law firm. So he appeared for that state test, and that test happened 2 times a year. So he failed for 12 times,
Oh,
right? So that's something huge. So he failed for 12 times, and the 13th time he cleared it and started his law practices. So that's something, I mean, at the age of 70, and it was real, it was not a fiction thing. So if someone has practically done that, learning from his failures and going further, not stepping back from the things, So that's something, that story clicks my mind when you talk about something from my book reading.
That was very inspiring. Uh,
Yeah.
so, Ashwini, what do you think are some of the ways in which books have helped you grow your career?
Books definitely have grown my career, because I would like to mention here is, so it is mentioned somewhere, I read somewhere that if you are reading books, why are you reading books? Someone asked, well, then why are you devoting your time into papers? So I would say, if you are reading books, then you got to learn the stories which you cannot go through practically. Because we have one life. In this one life, we can have to go through couple of experience, not couple of, lot of experiences, but you cannot go through the experiences which you are far beyond from your imagination. So once you are learning from books, once you are reading books, self-improvement books or biographies, especially biographies, so you are able to get insight of what people have seen in their careers, what how they reacted to the different situations which occurred, and how they molded or bring out the solution out of the consequences they were suffering from. So those things definitely had helped me in my career to be encouraged all the time, to be inspired all the time, to read more, to learn more. Yeah, so that's the thing that has fueled me up a lot, and it's going on already.
Very nice. Okay, so Ashwini, in the end, uh, if let's say you have to suggest just one book to the audience, which book would you like to suggest?
Book I would like to suggest, Zero to One.
0 to 1.
So
Okay.
yeah, so that has I mean that generally it is inspiring, but it's something which uh, tells you about your money investment, because I have been when I started my career, I had a lot of debts on my shoulder. A couple of were inherited. I had my education loan as well. So at that point of time, I was not aware of. I was not very exposed to the financial trainings or financial institutions. That how you should manage, or how you should plan your money. And a career was something that was already being fueled up. I was keep learning. Career was going right, but I was not very good at my finances. So at some point of time, when I would say I read this book, it started with this book only, Zero to One. So with this book, I was able to learn that how you should manage your life, how you should manage your work. And the second book that I did was Rich Dad Poor Dad. Almost every one of us would have read it. So these two books inspired me a lot to manage my work as well. So if you are into some leading positions, you have to be very kind and strict. So it should be hand in hand. So if you are totally kind, then also you're not going to live, right? So that those books also really helped me in these aspects of my life.
Thank you so much for sharing, Ashwini. So this is Ashwini, who shared a lot of things with us today. I hope all of you enjoyed this discussion, this conversation with Ashwini. So once again, thanks a lot, Ashwini, for being with us today.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me and having a very wonderful session after a lot of time. I'm having this.
Hey guys, I really hope you enjoyed today's conversation with Ashwini. And if you found this conversation to be valuable, please feel free to share it with your network. And if you know a technologist in your network who can be the next on Behind the Codes, please feel free to comment. This is me, Rishabh, signing off till the next time. Bye bye.